Daf Yomi, Tractate Zevachim, page 118b, top of the page, one line into it, with the words Rabbi Abahu Amar. Rabbi Abahu Amar, Amar Kra ben Porez Yosef ben Porez Ale'ayin, Ayin Shelo Ratzat Alizon V'le'anot Min Davar Shino Shelo, Tizkibetocha L'Yimelo Eineha. Rabbi Abahu says that a different biblical allusion may be found in what the verse states in the context of Jacob's blessing to Joseph. Joseph is a fruitful vine by a fountain. Genesis 49:22. The Gemara interprets the word fountain homiletically. And ayin can mean a fountain, like mayan, or it can mean like an ayin, like an eye. An eye that did not wish to partake or derive benefit from something that was not his, meaning the wife of Potiphar, shall merit to have offerings of lesser sanctity consumed in Shiloh in Joseph's portion in Eretz Yisrael to the fullest extent of its eyes, meaning from wherever Shiloh can be seen. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Chanina Amar Raton Shoch Nisneh Ein Shelo Atzat Alenos B'davar She'en Shelo Tizkenu T'Chavad Sinuin. Rabbi Yossi, son of Rabbi Chanina, says that the other allusion may be found in the context of Moses' blessing to Joseph and the goodwill of him who dwelt in the bush. Shoch Nisneh. Uretzon Shoch Nisneh. Deuteronomy 33:16, the Gemara interprets the word sneh homiletically, an eye that did not wish to derive benefit from something that was not his, shall merit to have offerings of lesser sanctity consumed among the haters, the sinuin. In other words, offerings of lesser sanctity may be consumed in any place that overlooks Shiloh, even in the portions of the other tribes who are described by the Torah as hating Joseph. See Genesis chapter 37. 37 is Yechidah, and it's also Hevel. Yosef is found there. Amar le Shimon ben Eliakim le Elazar, asabnu la kegon bekenishta dimaon. Amar Rav Papa roe she'amru lo roe kulo ela roe mikzato. With regard to the halacha that during the period of Shiloh offerings of lesser sanctity could be eaten in any place that overlooks Shiloh, it was taught the term overlooks that was stated in the Mishnah means that one sees in its entirety, and there is nothing that obstructs between the seeker and the surrounding area. Rabbi Shimon ben Eliakim said to Rabbi Elazar, I shall explain this type of seeing to you. For example, the synagogue of Ma'on, which was adjacent to the city of Tiberias, and from where Tiberias could be seen, Rav Papa said that the term overlooks that was stated does not mean that one must see the tabernacle in Shiloh in its entirety, but rather even one sees it partially, offerings of lesser sanctity may be consumed there. Boy Rav Papa, oy men, boy Yoshevino, oy my boy Rabbi Yirmiyah, omed el gami hanachal beroy Yoshev b'toch hanachal oy my teiku. This might be the 227th teiku in Bavli. With regard to overlooking 226 or 227, one or the other, I don't want to shut this down, so I want to run the risk of that. So it's one of the tekus, so 226 or 227, or maybe even 228. Okay, it's 225, 226, 227, or 228, one of those. But if you're following along on my Teku series, then you can see it over there, God willing, eventually. It'll get there. We're going through all 317 of them, which is Gematria Vayikra, which is where all the korbanot are. And the first time it mentions the word Mashiach in the Torah is in the Parsha of Korbanot. And Vayikra equals 317. There's 370 tekus. And it's a tradition that we only get the answers to all the tekus when Mashiach comes. Okay, teku. With regard to the definition that we're looking about, what is a lemma? If one is in a place where he stands and sees Shiloh. But if he does not see Shiloh. If he stands in a place where he sees Shiloh, but if he sits, he does not see Shiloh. What's the halacha? Is this considered overlooking? Likewise, Rabbi raises a dilemma. If one is in a place where he can stand upon the bank of the stream and see Shiloh, but if he is in a stream, he does not see Shiloh. If he's in a place where he can stand upon a bank of a stream, Bayan Bani bangs and Bayan Bani brays. That's the bank. It's near. If one is in a place where he can stand upon the bank of a stream and see Shiloh, but if he is in the stream, he does not see Shiloh. What's the halacha? No resolution is found to either of these questions. And this question, and the Gemara concludes these dilemmas will send results. So this is a teku. This is one of the 317. This is one of the 317. It's not like it's 317 and 318. These are not two. These are considered one because it's only where it says teku. That's according to Rabbi Bessen's book. Okay? Let us continue. Let us continue. Let us continue. Let us continue. He also Rabbi B'shloshim B'kam also Shechina Al Yischoi. Yeshila V'lo V'givoin B'Yisrael Omim. When the also B'chein B'yomim Shinem HaChoy V'volav Kol HaYom B'mein Zevachim Choy V'volav Kol HaYom Dai 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 Kol Chavifot Lo Yehu Ela B'chelko Shel Benyamin. When Rav Dimi came from Eretz Yisrael to Babylonia, he said that Rabbi Yehuda Nasi said, the divine presence rested upon the Jewish people in three places, in Shiloh, in Nov, and Gibeon, and the eternal house. And in all of those, the divine presence rested only in the portion of the tribe of Benjamin. He wasn't there at the selling of Joseph. I think that could be the reason. The divine presence rested in the portion of the tribe of Benjamin. As it is stated in Moses' blessing to Benjamin, the prophet of the Lord shall dwell saving him. He covers him all the day and dwells between his shoulders. Deuteronomy 33:12, meaning all coverings, meaning times of resting of the divine presence upon the Jewish people shall be only in the portion of Binyamin. He also by Amar Kamed Rabbi Yosef Amar Chad Berah Havele. Dichayli v'lo mitakan v'chati v'yitosh et mishkan Shilo u'chati v'yimayz v'oelo Yosef v'shivet Ephraim lo batar. The Gemara relates that when Abaye went to study Torah with Rav Yosef, he said, by the way, Rav Yosef is Gematria Mashiach 358. He said the statement of Rav Yosef, that Rav Yosef in response Khalil by his father had one son, and he is not proper, but isn't written with regard to the tabernacle of Shiloh. And he forsook the tabernacle of Shiloh. He forsook the tabernacle of Shiloh. Psalm 78:16. And it is written, moreover, he had more than 10 of Joseph, and he chose not the tribe of Ephraim. Psalm 78:67. These verses indicated the tabernacle in Shiloh was in the portion of Joseph, not of Benjamin. Amar Avada, Mike Kakashi Lehem. Gil Mishkin, Mechele Binyamin B'Sanhedrin, Gizrael Mechele Yosef. Ma de Betzinu B'Yisrael Mishkin Mechele Binyamin B'Sanhedrin Mechele Yehuda. Rabbi Ada said, what is Rabbi Yosef's difficulty with that verse? Perhaps the tabernacle was both in the portion of Benjamin and that of Joseph. The divine presence was in the portion of Benjamin and the great Sanhedrin, which sits adjacent to the location of the divine presence, was in the portion of Joseph. This is similar to what we find in the case of the eternal house, where the divine presence was in the portion of Benjamin, and the Sanhedrin was in the portion of Judah. Amar le'achi hashta. Hasam mikarvan nagalat gavei adadi hachame mikarvan hachanami mikarvan. Dikamar Rabbi Chaman Barak Chini Artzoa Yisa Yotzes Michal Vashel Yehuda V'nichneset Nechet Nechelto Shel Binyamin. Uvahayam Mizbeach Banoi V'hayam B'yam Tzadik Mitzayir Le'alei. We had this recently. We had this back in, we said Ben Kasefav Shachain. We had this earlier in the Masechta. Anyway, Rav Yosef said to him in response, how can these cases be compared? There, in the temple of Jerusalem, the portions of Benjamin and Judah were close to each other. Any division in which the temple was located in the portion of the tribe where the Sanhedrin was located in the portion of another was possible. Here, with regard to Shiloh, are Shiloh and the portion of Benjamin close to each other? One replies, here too they are close, as Rabbi Chama son of Rabbi says, a strip of land protruded from the portion of Judah and entered into the portion of Benjamin. The altar in the temple was built on that strip. And the tribe of Benjamin the righteous would agonize over it every day, desiring to take it into its portion due to its unique sanctity. Here too, with regard to the tabernacle in Shiloh, a strip of land protruded from the portion of Joseph, entered into the portion of Benjamin, which is connected to Shiloh to the portion of Benjamin, and it was on that strip which had the status of Benjamin's portion that the tabernacle stood, and that is what it means considering that which is written. With regard to the boundary of Joseph on the border, turned about eastward to Ta'anath Shiloh. Joshua 16 verse 6, which in this context is interpreted as meaning that the tribe of Benjamin would bemoan the fact that the tabernacle in Shiloh was not located entirely in its portion. Okay? Alright. Okay. כתנאי חובב עליו זה מקדש ראשון, כל היום זה מקדש שני. בין כתפיו שכן, אלו ימות המשיח. ובין כתפיו שכן. The Gemara notes that the dispute between the Mohaim with regard to the tribe in which the tabernacle in Shiloh is located is like a dispute between Tanaim, as is taught with regard to Moses' blessing to Benjamin, that he covers him, this is a reference to the first temple, all the day, this is a reference to the second temple. And he dwells between his shoulders, this is a reference to the Messianic era. Rabbi Omer, Rabbi Yehoshua says he covers him. This is a reference to this world, all the day. This is a reference to the Messianic era. And he dwells between his shoulders. This is a reference to the world to come. According to the opinion of the rabbis, the divine presence dwelled in the portion of Benjamin from the first temple period and onward, but not during the period of the tabernacle in Shiloh, when it was the portion of Joseph. However, according to the opinion of the Rabbi Yehoshua, the entire period that divine presence dwelled in this world, including the period of Shiloh, it did so in the portion of Benjamin. תנו רבנן, ימי אוהל מועד, שבמדבר 40 שנה חסר אחד. ימי אוהל מועד שבגלגל 14, 7 שכיבשו ו7 שחילקו. ימי אוהל מועד שבנוב וגבעון 57, השתיירו לשילו 370 חסר אחד. With regard to the duration of the different periods mentioned in the Mishnah, the sages taught the days of the tent of meeting in the wilderness were 40 years, less 1 year. The days of the tent of meeting that were in Gilgal were 14 years, 7 years during which the Jews conquered the land, and 7 years during which they divided the land among the tribes. The days of the tent of meeting that were in Nov and Gibon were 57 years, until the temple in Jerusalem were constructed. Since the temple was constructed 480 years after the exodus from Egypt, see 1 Kings 6:1, it follows that there remained for the period of the tabernacle in Shiloh 370 years less 1. ימי עמד שבמדבר 40 חסר אחת מן הלן, דאמר Shana Rishona Asa Moshe Asa Mishkan Shniyahu Kama Mishkan V'Shalom Moshe Meraglim. The Gemara asks, from where do we derive that the days of the tent of the meeting were in the wilderness 40 years less one? As the Master said in a Braita, in the first year after the exodus from Egypt, Moses constructed the tabernacle. In the second year, the tabernacle was erected, and Moses sent spies. Because of the sin of the spies, the Jewish people remained in the wilderness for 40 years. It follows that the tabernacle in the wilderness stood for 39 years. Shiba Gilgal Arba Yisrei. Sheva Shekibchu Sheva Shechil Kubanala Kadona Kalev Ben Arbaim Shana Anochim Bishloach Moshe Eved Hashem Oti Mikadesh Barnea Liragel Et Haaretz Yashem Oto Davar Kasher Im Levabi Ucheti Vata Hine Anochi Hayom Ben Chamesh Ushmonim Shana. From where do we derive that the tabernacle remained in Gilgal for 14 years? This is interesting. Appeal 89 is basically 14 years, and the tabernacle, it's a good thing, right? At least according to Sanhedrin 118. From where do we derive that the tabernacle remained in Gilgal for 14 years? Wow, it's amazing. Continuing, this is really amazing. Right, the Appeal 89 Gematriatic Quantum Cloud Calendar has a 14-year span. Okay? So I'm connecting that with, from where do we derive that the tabernacle remained in Gilgal for 14 years? 7 years during which the Jews conquered the land, 7 years during which they divided it. As Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, said to Joshua, at the conclusion of the period of the conquest before the land was divided, 40 years old was I, when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Chadash Barnea to spy the land, and I brought him back word, as was in my heart. Joshua 14:7. You have 14:7 again there. And it was written, and now I am this day 85 years old. Joshua 14:10. Ki avril yardin bar kamahave bar shivim etamne kamar ben chamesh monim shana hare sheva shekibshu. When the Jewish people crossed the Jordan, how old was Caleb? He was 78 years old. The spies were sent by Moses in the second year after the exodus from Egypt. And in the 40th year they crossed the Jordan. And at the time of the division of the land, he said that he was 85 years old. This indicates that it was 7 years during which the Jews conquered the land. Okay, this is amazing. It was 7 years that they conquered it, and 7 years that they were dividing it. The Gemara asks, Sheva Nami Shechilgu. Okay. The Gemara asks him, from where do we derive that there were 7 years during which they divided the land? If you wish, say, since it was a period of 7 years in which they conquered the land, it was presumably also a period of 7 years in which they divided the land. And if you wish, say, instead, because otherwise you do not find any plausible explanation for the date mentioned by the prophet Ezekiel in the verse, in the beginning of the year, on the 10th day of the month. Boom. 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 10th day of the month. In the 14th year after that the city was smitten, Ezekiel 40 verse 1. This indicates that it was a Jubilee year, unless capturing and dividing the land took a total of 14 years, after which point they began to calculate the sabbatical year in Jubilee years. Oel Moed Shebeno v'Givon 57 Minalam Dichtiv Ve'in Kaskiro et Aron HaElohim. The brightest stated that the period that the period of time of meeting was in Nov, and Gibeon was 57 years. The Gemara asks, from where do we derive this? As is written in the description of the death of Eli the high priest, upon being informed that the ark was captured by the Philistines, and it came to pass when he made mention of the ark of God, that he fell from his seat backward by the side of the gate, and his neck broke, and he died. 1 Samuel 4:18. V'yitana kishmei Eli HaKohen Charava Shilo ba'olanov kishmei Shmuel Haramati Charvano ba'olengivon. And a time of time when Eli the priest died, Shiloh was destroyed, and the Jews arrived at Nov, where they erected the tabernacle. At that time, Samuel began to lead the people, and Samuel from Ramah died. Nov was destroyed by Saul. See 1 Samuel 22:19. When they arrived at Gibeon, where the tabernacle remained, see 1 Chronicles 16:39. Uchetiv Vayim Yom Shabbos Aaron b'Kiryat Yarim Vayirbo Hayamim v'Yu 20 Shana Vayinu Kol Beit Yisrael Achrei Hashem. The Gemara determines the number of years from when the ark was captured by the Philistines and Shiloh was destroyed. And it is written, and it came to pass from the day that the ark abode in Kiriath Yarim, the time was long, for it was 20 years. And all the house of Israel yearned after the Lord. 1 Samuel 7:2. 1 Samuel chapter 7, verse 2. The ark was returned by the Philistines to Kiriath Yarim 7 months after it was captured, and remained there for 20 years until David brought it to Jerusalem. The Gemara explains that these 20 years are calculated as follows: 10 years that Samuel reigned alone, from the death of Eli until the coronation of Saul, and 1 year that Samuel and Saul reigned, meaning Saul reigned for 1 year during the lifetime of Samuel, and 2 years that Saul reigned alone after the death of Samuel. And in addition to these 13 years, there were the 7 years of David's reign in Hebron before the years of his reign in Jerusalem.